The fourth force is mistrust of the managerial accounting system and its flawed cost allocations and misleading cost reporting of products, services, channels, customers, and outcomes. And the key phrase here is cost allocations, because when you ask managers, what do you think about the accounting department's cost allocations to you, they say, do you mean the misallocations? Meaning, do you mean the way in which they unfairly charge me for their costs that I know are really being used by someone else? And this is what led Kaplan to start really researching activity-based costing. And that's also probably why I'm here. In 1988, KPMG Pete Marwick struck an exclusive relationship with Professor Kaplan. They recruited 4 consultants, including myself from Deloitte. So for 4 years, I did nothing but implement ABC. I am a practitioner. My first projects were disasters, but I say that proudly now because you have to learn from experience. I also learned there's a big difference between the theory of the Harvard Business School and being in the real world like us, having to make this stuff happen. So what is ABC? The simplest way I find to explain it is, imagine you go to a restaurant with 3 other friends. You order a little salad. They each order the most expensive item on the menu. And when the waiter or waitress brings the bill, the other 3 say, hey, let's split this check evenly. How do you feel? You feel cheated. You feel this is unfair. This is not equitable. Well, that is also how products and standard service lines feel in the cost accounting system when the accountants take this large amount of indirect expense or shared expense and broadly allocate it, like spreading butter on bread, using broad averages like number of employees in the department or number of units produced or manufacturing number of direct labor hours. It does not reflect the unique consumption that each product or service line consumed of those various processes. And as a result, if you compare it to actually tracing that consumption, it means some of the products are going to be overcosted and the others must be undercosted because it's a zero-sum error game. That means any of your profit margins are flawed and misleading because the middle line is wrong. Okay? And managers are using this information for making decisions. So the simple definition of ABC is it's as if the waiter or waitress brings 4 individual checks. You pay for what you consume. Now, why is ABC relevant now but wasn't as much in the past? It has to do with this diagram. This shows the 3 universal components of any organization's expense structure. The recurring labor expense, people who do repeating work every day, like a bank teller, the direct material, and the indirect expense. And what it shows is over the last 50 years, the indirect expense has been displacing the direct labor. When you ask people, why is this? They will say, well, computers, automation, we're kind of automating out the frontline workers. That is secondary. The main explanation for this is over the last 50 years, all organizations have had an increase in the number of types of products, more colors, more sizes, more ranges, more types of standard service lines. Banks have more types of checking accounts and saving accounts. Telecoms have more different types of packages. The point is this. Whenever you increase the diversity and variation of your outputs, it just produces complexity. And complexity causes the need to have more and more support, overhead, indirect people to manage it. So 50 years ago, when things were simpler and you produced, if you will, kind of just a few products, the indirect was thin, so the accountants could spread it like little veneer on the table. It wouldn't introduce much error. Most of the costs were directly traced. But today, it is a much larger number, so the broad averages are misleading.